Here we have a pre-owned 2017 Kia Sorento in the LX trim level. Comes in titanium silver on satin black leather interior. The powertrain consists of a 2.4 liter naturally aspirated inline 4 engine mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission. And that gets us 184 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque. And coming around to the front end here, really love the styling on this Sorento. You get the projector headlamps, even though they're halogen, but grill looks good. You got the plastic here, but it still doesn't look terrible. So pretty impressed, even with this being an LX trim level. And then down there, we have the 17-inch aluminum wheels. We get passive keyless entry on the front. And then over here, we have power door locks, window lock here, power mirror controls, and we get power windows, and we get a one-touch automatic up and down driver window. Pretty good storage in here, cup holder here. And there we have our power driver's seat with power lumbar support. Well, let's check out this rear leg room here. So surprisingly not bad for this Sorento. I'm 6'3" and have the seat in front of me adjusted for someone sitting there of my size, but my knees are just in the back a little bit. If this seat back came up about an inch, I'd be good. But I do like that we have the nets behind both seats. Then we have rear AC vents there, and then we also have a USB port and then a 12-volt down there too. And then we have our cup holders in the center seat. And then we have our third row back there, and I'll give you a quick tour of that. Fold this down, just pull up there, and that'll fold flat actually when the seat up front is up enough, and then you can just hop back in there. And then what's cool is you actually have several different settings there. You can lean it back there, and then about 2 more times. And then here's our gas cap. And then coming around to the back end here, we have our rear parking sensors, our exhaust tip, an okay looking rear end. Not fancy, but it's not horrible. And there's our trunk space with the third seat up, and we can of course fold that by pulling up here, and then that'll fold flat, and then you have all that additional storage, cup holders, and then storage pockets on both sides. Of course it's getting super windy out here. There's a 12-volt there. And then what's really neat is you can actually fold the second row from right here. So you just pull up here, and then you just pull up there, and then you've got both of those folded flat, and you can put longer objects in there. So really need to have that on this Kia. And then we have a little storage here, a jack there. And then we have our spare underneath there. And then here we have our front passenger seat, which is going to be manual. Then we have our lockable glove compartment here, and the owner's manuals are still in this one. And overall, just looking at the interior and how everything is still together, I'm impressed that this car has 117 or 118,000 miles on it. Let's go ahead and pop the hood. And there's that 2.4 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. Nice to know that the hydraulics on the hood still work. Let's go ahead and hop in the driver's seat. So the leather wrap steering wheel is actually held up very nicely. Still feels really nice, still looks good. Going over to the radio here, we do get AM, FM, and XM. And then on top of that, we get Bluetooth audio, and we have wired Apple CarPlay, wired Android Auto, and check this out, a CD player. We're just going to go through some settings here. So that's with the CD player. And then, if I can get the media to toggle here, you can pull up everything just by hitting media. Then if your Pandora set up, you can hit that. If your aux is in, you can hit that, Android Auto, etc. And then you have Yugo here as well. So it'll check the vehicle, which is really nice. So if anything's afoot, you can see it here. And then just go into our settings. Those are the settings that we have. So really a lot on here. But down here we have our dual zone automatic climate controls. We can set our auto here, sync here, and then adjust the temperature, and it'll actually show us on the screen what it's set to. Then we can control fan speed, what mode, whether it's at our feet, defrost, etc. Then we get 3-stage heated seats right here. And by hitting that climate button, you can actually see it on the full screen, which is really cool. There's our backup camera, and the guidelines show us where we're headed as we turn the steering wheel. And then what I notice here, I've always had an issue with, if you hit the mode button on here in Kias, the volume will, oh, that's probably how I'm doing that. The volume will go back to where it was on the radio or whatever, but here, on this older one, if I have the volume all the way down, it seems like the volume actually stays there. So that's a big plus for me. But aux input, USB, 212 volts, and you can close that for storage. And to shift the 6-speed, you can just hit this button, reverse neutral drive, and then you can tap over here and you can manually shift, and it shows you on the left side of that digital part of the gauge cluster what gear you're in. It's pretty neat. It's nice to have a shiftable automatic. And then for our drive modes, it shows us in the bottom left corner of that digital gauge cluster, we have normal, eco, and then sport mode. And then we can toggle our parking sensors off here. Little storage pocket here for change, cup holders, removable tray here, and then we have a USB port right there. There's a view of the back from up here. We have sunglasses holders here, and then our dome lights, we can just hit that. Both of these still work. And what I'm really impressed by is we have push button start here. There's the key fob there. Just everything seems to be in decent shape on this one. Then we have our voice recognition controls here. Like I said, volume here, and then we can go through our track list or radio station favorites here. And then Bluetooth buttons here. And then the scroll bar here, and then this here is what we use for the gauge cluster. So we can scroll through all of that. And then we can use this to go through the actual menus. And then we can scroll here with the sub-menus. And then we can turn the cruise control on here, set that. Then we have an OK and a cancel button here. So I don't really know what those do yet. Let's see. Okay, so you can use it to go through the gauge cluster there. But headlamp controls are here. We do have an automatic light mode, turn signals, high beams, flash the high beams. And then over here we have our windshield wipers. So that's one time. They have intermittent, low, high. We can set our intermittent here. Then we have our rear wiper here. And then pull back for the rear wiper fluid, push up for the front wiper fluid. And I really like, if you see that orange gauge right there, it's telling us that it's cold out, so to look out for ice patches and all of that. And then it still tells us the temperature right there, so I like that. But yeah, just really a lot of options on this Sorento. But next we're gonna go ahead and take it on the road for a quick test drive. So a really good pull from this 2.4 liter 4-cylinder. But the sport mode really helps a lot with that, just making sure that those shifts stay high in terms of the RPM gauge. So that was actually really good for this kind of motor. And you have a lot of initial torque when you put your foot down while in sport mode. And then normal mode keeps your shifts low, and then eco mode just kind of pushes your foot back. You have to fight the pedal to actually get it to go. Which is good if you have a lead foot like myself and you're not necessarily trying to keep your foot down the whole time. But let's watch this acceleration in eco mode as I put my foot into it. So it still allows you to get high in the RPM range, which is good. It's not like Infinitis and Toyotas and you put your foot into it and it's like, oh no, we're not doing that today. I'm just really impressed with this Kia to have almost 118,000 miles. Everything's working, the heated seats working great. It's driving good. Like I said, everything seems to be in working condition. And I really like the brightness of the colors on the gauge cluster. So the headlamps and the corner lights, since they're on, it shows you nice and bright. That's what's on. It shows you when the cruise is on, and then it shows you in big green letters when it's set too. So honestly, even before Kia kind of got their stuff together in the past few years, they've been working towards being them and Hyundai have been working towards really being the benchmark in terms of what you need to have on your vehicles for a certain price point. Like I said, this isn't even a top level trim, but you get leather here, heated seats, and then just having the Apple CarPlay, Android Auto compatibility. And I'm sure this was cheaper than anything else on the market that you could get with all these features. So just really impressed it's held up like this with these kind of miles. Yeah, the eco mode actually feels really good. It doesn't feel like I said, I'm being pushed back, but it's just not giving me more throttle than I want. And then if I want to just drive normally, I put it in normal mode. So having my foot down at the same spot I just was coming out of the corner gives me just a little bit more oomph in the normal mode. But all in all, just really, really impressed with this Sorento. I mean, I have not noticed anything wrong with it. It stops great, not hearing shake or not feeling shake in the brake pedal. Not even feeling like an alignment issue here. And obviously this was probably maintained well, but whoever had this car definitely smoked it and I can smell it. And I'm just impressed that it's still held up as nicely as it has. And the dealer that I borrowed this from did his due diligence in making sure that the car was odor bombed and all of that. You just kind of get that smell mixed with the leather, which is kind of refreshing for me. But if you're highly allergic, which I really am, but I'm not gonna keep this, then just keep in mind that you probably wanna have this professionally detailed, specifically on the leather. But another thing I noticed is, if you all remember seeing the video of me shooting the seats have held up really nicely. And I love that you get this perforated leather with it as well. And I had a Sorento hybrid that I loved that I got my girlfriend, and then she wanted to get rid of it. And she shouldn't have, but these Sorentos are just really, really nice cars. And they just hold up pretty well. Now, in terms of engines and transmission and all that, I'm not 100%, but all in all, they're just really good cars for the money. And this will bring me to the end of my review of this pre-owned 2017 Kia Sorento LX.